In 2009, a woman, KDCP, was driving on a highway outside of Boston, Massachusetts when she experienced a phenomenon so strange she had trouble describing it. I was in a very strange situation while driving on a highway in 2009. It was Route 128 outside of Boston, which anyone from the area will know is a dangerous, very high-speed freeway. When there's not traffic backing it up for miles, that is. I was driving to work on a morning where there were lots of cars on the road, but no accidents backing things up. There were 4 lanes at the time, and all were running about 70 miles per hour. Katie claimed she was in the far left lane when a car in the far right lane suddenly made a 180-degree turn, drove across all lanes of traffic, somehow not hitting anyone, and came to a stop facing the wrong direction, about 5 feet from her front bumper. It was a sunny day, dry roads, no ice, so I don't know what caused this. The near collision was weird enough, but then things got stranger. The other car was blocking only my lane, not the other 3 lanes, so they should have started driving forward immediately after this happened, especially on this particular road where accidents are common enough and drivers can be pretty cutthroat. The other car didn't hit mine, so this also wasn't a looky-loo or rubberneck situation. But none of the cars in the other lanes moved forward. I looked at the nearest drivers in the other lanes, and it was as if they were literally frozen. No movement, their cars and faces in a weird frozen position. I then looked at the other driver who spun out and almost hit me. She was not in a frozen position, but I noticed that she too was looking at the other cars and seemed really freaked out. Whether from her car spinning out or seeing the frozen drivers, of course I'll never know. We looked at each other for what felt like an eternity, but it wasn't just that time slowing down effect that happens when you're in an adrenaline-producing situation. We blinked at each other several times. I would estimate that the actual amount of time that we looked at each other was 1 minute. Still no motion from the other drivers or their cars. Finally, the woman made a 3-point turn, pointed her car in the right direction, and drove on. At this point, time stopped being frozen for the other drivers, who I was again watching intently. Their faces and cars snapped to life and started moving again. Katie claims that she too continued on her way, though she could not put the weird experience out of her mind. I'll never know quite what happened that day. I've never before or since experienced something where other people and things seemed frozen in time. In an odd convergence of different and seemingly unrelated paranormal phenomena is a case from Bountiful, Utah. In June 2014, Delaney, no last name was provided, and some friends had decided to do some urban exploring. An abandoned boarded-up house near Viewmont High School was their decided location, and at around 10 p.m. they headed out. The house was rumored to be haunted. After sneaking onto the property, they spent some time looking around the supposedly haunted home, eventually heading out into the backyard to talk. Soon one of the friends took notice of something high up in the sky and quickly alerted the others to what he was seeing. Sure enough, there was a UFO flying overhead, Delaney recalled. We were very skeptical. We stood there watching it hover high in the sky. Just then they looked back at the house. They noted that there was a crack in the boarding at one of the windows, and in that window stood a man staring at them. Delaney claims that the man began screaming that they must leave immediately. This man's sudden appearance inside the house, which they had just inspected and found to be empty, startled them, and they quickly rushed away from the area. Delaney and his friends have never gone back. Either this is a series of weird coincidences or something else is going on. It's interesting that a UFO would appear over a home that was known to be haunted on the same night that it was being inspected. Further, within seconds of seeing this UFO, a figure would appear inside the home that they just inspected and found to be empty. Was the figure in the home associated with the UFO? Was it the ghost that was rumored to be associated with the property? Or was it something else? John Keel was a big believer in the idea that all paranormal phenomenon is connected in some way, and this account might just back up that theory. In December 2015, a woman, Shanae S., described a very strange event that occurred in her home. This account appeared on the Fortean Times website. Shanae recalls waking up at around 3:30 a.m. and feeling hungry. I wanted a snack, something sweet. I went upstairs as I was sleeping in the basement and into our dining room to grab a cupcake from our snack cabinet. It was very dark in the room with only a street light in front of the neighbor's house to provide any illumination. As I reached up into the cabinet, a sound, very bright flash came from behind me. It was clearly the flash from my camera. I'm 41 years old and have had my picture taken hundreds of times. I know what a camera flash looks like. I whirled around and no one was there. I stood stock still for 2 to 3 full minutes and nothing else happened. Spooked, Shanae rushed back downstairs and woke her boyfriend and told him what had just transpired. He said, "No way. I didn't think you'd believe me, so I didn't tell you, but the same thing happened to me a few weeks ago. In the same situation going back, not the same cabinet, for a snack, in the middle of the night, it also happened to him." Shanae claims that sometime later, again in the pre-dawn hours, she observed another flash in the same area of the house, as did her 13-year-old son. My boyfriend toured the area we believe it came from. It was behind us each time, apart, and there's no hidden camera or anything. Yes, there's a bay window there, but it's pretty high off the ground and has a series of plant holders built into it. It would be hard to see anyone trying to take a picture through that window. Plus, I have a 140-pound pit bull and a 90-pound boxer, and live on a dead-end street with only 5 houses on it. I don't think many peeping toms would come inside our 6-foot fence to risk taking a picture knowing we have big dogs, and they would have to be inside the fence to get to the window. I don't for a second think there was a person at the window, and there is no hidden camera. Neither were we drinking, drugging, or asleep. We were not so pathetic we need to make up stories to get attention. I hesitate to label this as paranormal, but I am stumped as to what else to call it. While some skeptics might suggest that this might have been a drone zipping around outside her window, it is unlikely that the typical buzzing sound that accompanies the use of a drone would not have been noticed by Shanae and her family. Further, if there was a contraption hovering outside the window of the house, the dogs would have been alerted to it and would have most assuredly raised a ruckus. As I've discussed in previous videos, many UFO encounters involve strange flashes of light, some of which are referred to as similar to a camera flash by witnesses. While no UFO was observed by Shanae in her encounter, it does make me wonder if her and her family's experience might be related to the UFO phenomenon.